Hi, I'm Sarah and my channel is So Eco Mommy, and I am taking part in the collab video dealing with stress. So I will put the other links in the description box below on other people who are participating in the channel, as well as the creator of this collab. So go ahead and look down there for that, and let's get started. So the thing was, give 3 ways that you negatively deal with stress and 3 ways that you positively deal with stress. So let's start with the negative. Number 1, I bite my nails when I get stressed, but only when I'm like super stressed and there's nothing I can do about it. Like when my husband was in the hospital having surgery, I was so stressed. I took things and I just could not keep my mind on what I took to do, and so I ended up biting my nails to the point where, you know when you bite your nail way past the quick and it is so extremely painful? Yeah. So my nails are just finally growing out. I mean, that was a month ago, so my nails are finally growing back out, so I'm happy about that. But it's a terrible habit and a terrible way of dealing with stress. And number 2, I tend to get loud when I get stressed. The more stress I have, the higher my volume goes. Particularly when I feel like nobody is listening to me, it's just like, pay attention to me for just 1 minute. It's a terrible way to deal with it, but, you know, truth is truth. And number 3 would be when I get really stressed, when there's so much things going on and I just feel like everything's piling on top of me, I try and do everything myself, and I don't ask for help when I would probably relieve a lot of stress by saying, hey, can you help me do X, Y, and Z? Instead, I just am like, no, I'm going to do it myself. And then I get frustrated because I'm like, why is nobody helping me? Why is nobody saying, here, let me help you with this? But they don't know that I need the help. So it's a terrible way to deal with it, and not just be like, hey, look at me. So those are the negative ways that I handle my stress. And now for the positives. Number 1 would be to write it down. Sometimes when I'm feeling super duper stressed, it's because there's so many things going on, and the best thing that I can do sometimes is to just stop, take a minute, and make a list. If there's a lot of things going on around the house that I need to do, and I don't quite know where to start, if I stop and make a list of the top priorities, it kind of gives me a direction to head in, and then I don't feel so frazzled like, oh my gosh, what am I have to do this and this and this. And then it also helps with some things that there's really not much that you can do at that moment. I'm a huge advocate of lists when you're stressed. We are possibly planning to move here in a couple of months, and it kind of stresses me out to think of all the things that have to be done, but there's really nothing that we can do until September. So it's you know, it's just kind of like, okay, making lists of what kind of we need to do in order to get to that way. And then I feel like I'm making progress, even though all I'm doing is writing something down, but I feel like I'm making progress, and that relieves a lot of stress on the whole issue. Number 2 would be busy work. Sometimes the stress that I have is not something that can actually be, there's no remedy to it. There's not an action that you can do that's going to resolve an issue. So like family drama and stress, things like that, that there's really nothing that you can do or say that's going to take care of the issue. That's when I use busy work. And by busy work, I mean like cleaning. Like sometimes I got really mad at my sister the other day because of something, and I cleaned the kitchen, and I did the dishes, and I did laundry and stuff like that, and it was just, I needed to be busy. My hands needed to be doing something so my mind could process what was pissing me off. Sometimes we don't have chores to do, and that's when I turn to crafts. Crocheting. I have just recently started hand sewing. So I'm trying to make a Christmas quilt, and I'm using English paper piecing, and it's definitely busy work and definitely provides me a lot of time to mull over situations that need a little more thought. Number 3 would be escapism. I like to escape into video games when I'm feeling stressed. When it's been a really tough day, sometimes it's so nice to come home, or not to come home, I don't leave the house. When I'm feeling really stressed and after the kids go to bed, sometimes it's really nice to just put in a video game and like escape from the real world for a little bit and play. These happen to be 2 of my favorites right now. The Lego Hobbit for PS4, and my son got me into Minecraft, which is actually quite interesting. So that was another just kind of pulls you out of the situation that you're dealing with, and you know, just kind of makes like, okay, this is, you know, we'll forget about the real world for a few minutes and go from there. Now, a bonus. I have a bonus way of dealing with stress, and this is kind of a double-edged sword, which is why it's not positive or negative, because it technically could go either way depending on you. I like a beverage. My beverage of choice is coffee, whether it's hot or cold. I love coffee, which is good because, you know, if you have a cup a day, no big deal. But if you're stressed to the point where you're drinking a pot of coffee a day, probably not so healthy. And to go with that, can't go wrong with chocolate. Chocolate is a great stress reliever, but again, in moderation. It's definitely something that you don't want to make a all the time stress reliever, but sometimes it's just that little edge that you need to kind of get over the bump. So those are the ways that I really like to relieve stress, and some of the ways that I don't like to relieve stress, but I just happen to. So thanks for watching, and check out some of the other ladies below and see how they relieve some of their stress. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Wait. There's one more way.